9 o'clock, but I wanted to do something a little different. I'm actually live on two completely different platforms, so if you see me looking very ADHD, it's because I'm jumping back and forth between Facebook and I'm jumping back and forth between Instagram. So here's the deal. Normally I'd do a podcast with a guest right now, but tonight I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to involve you guys directly in the podcast. And so here's how it works. I'll probably keep this kind of short, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. But if you've got a question, go ahead and drop it right there in the chat, and I will do my best to answer that question. Pretty much nothing is off limits, so I'm an open book. So would love to hear from you guys. And I'll also be kicking a lot of shout outs tonight. So big ups to Phil Fox and Emmett Fowler and Steve Forstein over on Facebook. I've got a ton of people over here on Instagram. Cove 8, what's my favorite verse? My man Big E just jumped in from Lab West, crossover. My man Tommy Colonin. And someone just asked the question, who is one person you haven't worked with that you would love to? I get this one a lot. I always kind of say two people that I wish I had worked with. One, mainstream, that's Sting. I'm a huge Police fan. But two, that would be Toby Mac on the Christian music side. So, another question. Jacoby Cotton says, how are you staying connected to God right now? How am I staying connected to God? That is a good question. I have found that what has been super helpful for me is getting up super early. I say for me, super early is anywhere between 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. And just before the day begins, before things go crazy, I sit literally right here where I'm sitting right now with a very strong cup of coffee and my thoughts and my Bible, and I talk to God and I read His Word. You know what I mean? So that's probably the two biggest things that have been keeping me connected. Alan Jones right here on Facebook says, who are your musical inspirations? That's a gigantic question. That's everybody from music inspirations. Probably everybody from classic 80s hip-hop, 90s hip-hop to... That's too wide, man. Like, my musical tastes are so far and wide. You know what I mean? So it's really hard. It's musical inspiration. Yeah, I mean, I used to be just golden age hip hop, but now it's a little bit of everything. I've found inspiration in a little bit of everything. Let me take a question over here on Instagram. Big Boy Nathan says, what's my favorite album? Probably, I don't know if I have a favorite, but as much as the one that really is probably really close to me is the Jonah album, just because the Jonah album is super close to me, just because the time when it came out was a big deal. So without going into further detail, definitely the Jonah album. We got a bunch of people jumping on Facebook here now. My cousin Mary is in the chat. Jeff Adams is here. Awesome. Joy Freeman is here. Front flips galore, says Jeff Adams. Shut up, Jeff. Justin Tracy, great question. Any thoughts on the lyricism and dope hip-hop in the musical Hamilton? Maybe you don't want to hear my answer about this. I think the Hamilton musical... yeah, I'm not really... for what it is, I think it's great. I would not put it in the same vein of albums that I consider lyrical or pieces of art that I consider lyrical. I mean, look, if you could take Alexander Hamilton, a president, and make that interesting, more power to you. And they did. But it just didn't do much to me. You know, it didn't do much for me. Yeah, it's odd. Yeah, I don't know what to say. My laptop is dying very quickly. I'm going to have to get a battery out here. This is going to be a very short Facebook chat. Have I listened to Dayton's new album? I heard some of the singles when he did it live. I've not yet listened to the album yet. I need to, though. That's definitely a shout out to my man Dayton. More questions on Facebook. This is an all, for those that are just jumping in, this is an all, this is going to be an all Q&A driven podcast. So, Emmett says, now that you're not doing live shows, did that have an effect on your emotions? Did you get depressed, sad, etc.? Well, where there's a will, there's a way, right? Strangely enough, I just did a drive-in concert at our church Saturday. I did a quarantine concert about a month ago, which was, enough that was like, to keep the bug going, so to speak. So yeah, I don't know if I got depressed as much as I just got a little anxious for it. You know what I mean? I really got to go grab my charger. So I'm going to play you guys something. Hopefully you can hear this. This is a track that I'm working on with my man Poetics. And I want to get somebody on this track to do a guest feature. So I'm going to play you guys something exclusive. And you tell me who you think would be dope on this track. And I will be right back with my charger. Alright? I'll be back, guys. Hold on. Yeah. I believe it now that you're good. I believe anything I need that you could. Give me peace, but some free now that you would. Call through, so I want my peace in my hood. And I believe in that you plan this. And I believe that I shoot that I can't miss. I believe you're the God of second chances. So I'ma stand strong, plus I'm knowing that I can't slip. Sometimes they don't last, but the people do. That's why I'm seeking you. Know you see me through. I felt the peace when I speak to you. That's all I see in you, like every time I'm seeing you. I might struggle, but I never lose. They don't see you move, they just get confused. So they thinking that you never true, but you're the one I'm holding to. You gon' get me through. I believe. When I can't see, well, I believe. You know that I believe. And when I can't see, well, I believe. Alright, there we go. It's a track I wrote during the quarantine. And then we kind of revamped it, so. Let's take some more questions. I had to pull this as far close to the door as possible to keep this charging. I don't know, sorry. Anyway, I'm super distracted. Let's keep it going here. Got a bunch of questions on here. Nick says Eminem would kill that track. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but thanks for the suggestion. Corin Gibson is in here. That's awesome. Corin Gibson. Flame would sound good, somebody said. As an independent artist, what more can I do to get my product out there? That is the $1 million question. I don't know if I have a perfect answer for that outside of just saying the best thing you can do is be consistent and find your own sound and hustle hard. That's about all I can say. That's the best things you can do as an indie artist. Let's go over here to Instagram and take some questions. So for anybody that's asking, you can actually jump on that track by becoming a patron on my Patreon on the Backstage Pass tier. Head over to patreon.com/KJ52. The track is up there along with the instrumental. You can submit that to me by 5/31 and we'll put you on it. So I'm actually debating, I've been kicking around the idea of doing a collaborations part 2. So an entire project of collaborations with indie artists on tracks like those. You know what I mean? That's kind of the idea. So if you're interested, get on it. Alright? I Sing About Love says, would you rap over an acoustic guitar? I've done like a zillion songs on acoustic guitars. Come on, man. I guess maybe you mean by itself? Just acoustic guitar? That'd be kind of weird. I don't know. Sean Martins just asked, what's your personal favorite project? I just answered it, but I'll answer it again. Jonah was probably my favorite. Richie Shannon on Facebook says, KJ, we know you're an amazing rapper, but do you sing as well? I can do melodies, and I write a lot of my singing choruses and stuff, but I'm not I mean, it would be auto-tuned out if I did. You know what I mean? Micah Tramp says, when are you hitting up your next cruise gig? I don't plan on going on a cruise anytime soon, that's for sure. Let's keep it moving here. More questions. I Sing About Love on Instagram says, who's your favorite rapper? Ooh, that's a tough one. Who is my favorite rapper? I would have to say, I can't name you my favorite because it changes, but I could probably name you my top 5 or top 10. My top 5 is going to be Rakim, KRS-One, Common, Nas. Who's up there? Who else is up there? I'm trying to say a 5th one. I'm blanking out on a 5th one. I'm trying to think who would be my 5th. Because when I think of MC, my favorite rapper, I'm not thinking rappers, I'm thinking MCs. There's a difference. I'll have to come back to that. Let's keep it moving. Another question. My man Pac on the mic is here. He said me. You're a doofy. You're a doofball. That's a goofy doofball. You're a goofy doof. You're a goofball. More questions from Facebook. Where's the Mountain Dew? Do you remember your song on the DJ Madge mixtape? I did 2 on DJ Madge's mixtape. So, yes, I do remember the songs I did on there. Where's the Mountain Dew? I haven't drank that crap in 18 years, man. I keep telling you guys this. But you can get the Mountain Dew remix on my Patreon. So, Joe, go over to patreon.com/KJ52. Justin Tracy says, which do you enjoy more, freestyle or writing verses? See, now that's a good question. I love both aspects of it, you know what I mean? But if I had to pick just one forever, like if I was stuck, like I could never freestyle again or never write again, I'd have to go with writing. I would probably pick writing over freestyling because honestly you can, I like to have cohesive thoughts that have like beginning and end, so that's more writing driven than anything. So for those that are just jumping in, don't really know what's going on here, I'm doing a live KJ podcast right now. So essentially how this works, this is going to be all question and answer based. If you got a question, drop it below and I'll kick you a shout out. And yeah, I'm sitting here on my porch right now. So if I look like super erratic and like distracted, it's because I'm going Instagram live over here and I'm going Facebook over here. So anyway, Nick Mason says, have you ever heard of NF? If not, you should check him out. Awesome. Is he on the internet? I'll definitely check him out. Brian Kiesling says, how old were you when you were doing your first album? I was did my first EP when I was 19. Did my first album when I was 97, so I've been 22. 22 sounds right. My man Tommy Clonin is over here. Shout out from Australia. When are you coming? I love your work. No time soon. Favorite collaboration you heard that you wish you did? Favorite collaboration you heard that you wish you did? Favorite collaboration that I heard that I wish I did? That is a great question. I'm trying to think of something that I heard that I was like, dang, I should have done that. I don't know if I can think of a favorite collaboration that I wish I did. I can tell you a song that I think I wish I'd done was Thrift Shop by Macklemore. And I know that sounds like a really random thing to say, but like the aesthetics of what he did on that song, like, and the video, and like the fact it's like super tongue-in-cheek and it flips materialism on its head and it's like super sarcastic, like that's one of the few songs that I heard and I was like, I should have wrote that. You know, not that I even have been a big in thrift shop guy, but you know what I mean? Let's get some more questions on Facebook. Did Eminem ever get back to you? You need to read my book, sir. Or you can just go listen to it on Spotify. What happened was the mixtape. Have I listened to Brian Trejo? If so, what do you think of his style? This is from Steven Stevenson. I want to say thank you for all the great music and dedication to spreading the gospel. Yes, absolutely. Definitely heard of Brian Trejo. I think he's super dope. Never met the guy. My man Ofe works with him a lot. And that whole Kingdom Music side. They're doing great work. He's actually come down here and played in my town, and I've always been out of town when he played. But either way, good dude. Good, very, lot of respect. Let's take one off of Instagram here. We got a bunch of people jumping in on the Instant and the Grams. Mr. Izzy 7878 says, have you ever heard the Judgment Night soundtrack where they mix rock and rap? That is old school. Yes, absolutely. And I didn't like it at all. I was never a big fan of rap rock, but when they did that album, like that was before rap rock got really big. When they did that, I really didn't like it because they took rappers that I liked and like rock bands that I wasn't really interested in and like smashed them together, and it was like I didn't hear anything on there that I was like, yeah. There's only a few rap rock bands that I've ever really vibed with, and it's not that I'm hating. It's just I don't know, man. Like the only two that I've really ever dug is like Rage Against the Machine and Linkin Park. That's probably the only two. You know what I mean? Good question though, and it's nothing personal. It's just not my thing. Jared Miller on Facebook says, "Do you prefer more upbeat rap or mellow sentimental?" Yes, I am not, married to any of them. I like people that have something to say, and I think you can say something with mellow rap and sentimental rap. You know what I mean? So, my man Donut JJSSB. When's the last time you bought an LRG shirt? I'm only laughing because I was just hitting up my man Theory Hazard about LRG the other day. Like I was like, they still make dope clothes. I don't think it's been a while. It's been a couple years since I bought an LRG shirt. I would buy an LRG shirt. Actually, I've been on their website looking at their gear lately. Strangely, you would say that. That's the only reason why I'm laughing. Brett J. Porter says, "I am thinking about rapping. Do you think Chicken Sack is it's a good rap name?" Chicken Sack. I think Chicken Sack would only be a good rap name if you were Lil Chicken Sack. I think that's how you got to roll with that bad boy. My man Paco, my man Pac on the mic. I don't know why I still read that as Paco on the mic. My man Paco the mic, Pac on the mic. For as well as I know you, Paco, the fact that I still can't read this properly makes no sense. What is the least favorite song you've ever recorded? See, this is why we get along so well. You ask good questions. I can tell you, like, least favorite song, it'd be a borderline insulting probably to some people that I've either, like, recorded it with them or, like, or like, insulting to the producer that did it. But I could probably say, I don't know if I have least favorite songs as much as I have songs that I regret that I think I could have done better. All right, that's a little better. And this isn't even like a bad song as much as I feel like regretful about it. Is a song called "I'm Guilty" that's on Pronounce 5-2, because I feel like the music of it just came out sounding way too close to One Mic by Nas, and I've just, as someone who tries to strive for originality, even though I don't know if my lyrics definitely did, but I felt like that could have came out more original on that song. So let's grab some more questions on Facebook over here. Alex Owen says, "Thoughts on mumble rap?" Thoughts on mumble rap. Thoughts on mumble rap. Look, I'm a guy who likes lyrics, so would I ever really be into mumble rap? No, because it doesn't speak to like the number one thing why I love hip hop, which is what's being said. But that being said, I can understand its appeal because it's very melody driven. It's very catchy. It's very it's all vibey. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that era is kind of already over. I don't think people are really out there doing mumble rap like they used to be. So yeah, man. I don't know if I have anything really to say about it. I don't have thoughts on it because I'm not thinking about it. Ethan Blake says, "Hey 5-2, what should I do to sound better on GarageBand?" Get a better microphone, better recording setup. I don't know. There's no way to. Without knowing what your setup is, I couldn't tell you. Let me grab a question off here on Instagram. Jeremy McCrory says, "How many miles are you getting running during this quarantine?" I've been running a ton. Actually, I've kind of stopped counting my miles. I've actually gotten to the point now where I'm averaging about 3 to 4 miles when I go out. I never used to run that much, and I'm probably doing that about 3 to 5 times a week. So 15 miles maybe a week. Maybe it's higher. Maybe it's a little lower. I'm not really sure. But for me, that's a lot. So getting going there. Oh, let's keep it moving. Another question. Let me get another question off Facebook here. Stephen Bethesda says, "Peace of mind. What happened?" That is a long answer, so I would actually just tell you, go check out my podcast. I did a whole podcast about peace of mind. KJ52podcast.com, or you can just subscribe, because it's kind of a long explanation, you know what I mean? But we deep dive into peace of mind quite a bit. If you know what peace of mind is, it's like this one-off rap rock project I did like 18 years ago. So go check that out. I did it with the homies Justin Sarachik. Aaron Lee says, "Did you ever get into speed rapping so quickly that you pretended to say half the words?" Absolutely. And I'm not into speed rapping, so there you go. Jason Picard says, "How did you come to know the Lord? How do you pass the importance of that on to your children?" First question, I would say go read my book, or I would say go read my book. It's a long answer, but how do you pass the importance of that to your children? Just be yourself. Be real. Be real with your story. Don't hide things from your kids that, they need to know the whole deal. You know what I mean? Let's jump a question over here on Instagram. 2 questions. Mr. Izzy7878. Favorite restaurant you visit regularly? Well, it hasn't been a lot lately. Favorite restaurant that I visit regularly? I don't really go out to eat very much. If I do, it's like Panera Bread or Jason's Deli or like the Cuban spot. So I'm not a foodie like I used to be. I should be. Hot Rod Hobbins, what's the difference between an MC and a rapper? There's a good question. The difference between an MC and a rapper is, main thing is it's a difference between loving and knowing the culture of MCing. As Rakim said, MC means to move the crowd, whereas a rapper, the KRS-One quote is the best way to explain it. Rap is what you do, hip-hop is what you live. So I could be a rapper as something I'm doing. Satan's bird is back. I'm going to shoot that bird, I'm telling you. Whereas anybody can rap, but MCing is someone that's committed to the craft of lyricism, the craft of moving the crowd, the craft of punchlines, cadences, content, voice tone. There's just a bigger difference in that. And it's the difference between saying hip-hop or rap. You know what I mean? Hip-hop is a culture. Rap is one aspect of the culture. So let's keep it moving. Question over here on Facebook. Do you still have Mountain Dew? Come on, man. Warren Boyette, if you could mash up with a Christian rock band, who would you pick? Mash up with a Christian rock band. Does Mute Math count? That's probably the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I've always been a big Mute Math fan. They have great music. But I wouldn't put them in the rock band. They're definitely not a Christian band anymore. Luis Perez, have you ever got a response from your Dear Slim song? You need to read my book. That's in my book. Or go listen to What Happened Was the Mixtape on Spotify. Let's move on here. Another question. Let's do another question here off of Instagram. Favorite rapper, MC of all time? Kind of already answered that. Big Boy Nathan, would you ever be a music video on Rapzilla? I don't even know what that means, dude. Would I ever be a music video? Would I ever be on a music video on Rapzilla? I got a bunch of music videos on Rapzilla. I don't know what that question means. Would I ever just be an all-consuming music video? No, I'm joking. I don't really know what you're saying. Yeah, I have to clarify that one, buddy. Evan23 Taylor, your favorite TV series? Oh, that's a tough. Okay, see, that's a tough one. See, when you ask me like stuff like movies, TV, music, those are hard questions for me because that's like my all-consuming world. Currently, probably The Office. Okay, I'm still rewatching The Office for the 3 billionth time, and I still find new things that are funny about it. Big Seinfeld fan from back in the day. I don't know if it's as funny to me as it used to be. Um, uh, Another TV series. Yeah, it might just be The Office and Seinfeld. Is that, man, I gotta get a little deeper here. Let's move on to a question over here on Facebook. Brandy Crisp says, "What's your favorite kicks of all time?" See, Lauren Sanford also asked, "Where can we pick up your book?" KJ52book.com. It's right on my website, or you can get it off of Amazon. You can get it off of Amazon also. Mario Christopher says, "How far away from Panama City are you, and would you do a show at Christian Resort with a few hundred teens?" Dude, I'm in Panama City, but of course I would do a show. Of course, I played Panama City. I played Christian Retreat in Panama City like 3 gazillion, trillion, zillion, quintillion times. So you can shoot me a DM. We can set that up. Obviously, we gotta get past this quarantine, but man. But back to Brandy Crisp's question, which was favorite kicks of all time. That is going to be Air Maxes, no question. Air Maxes, and a close second is Jordan 4s. Somebody said I need to go see Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, or Game of Thrones. Well, first of all, I did a whole podcast on Game of Thrones called Dragon Porn, so I don't think I'll be watching that one. I've never seen a Game of Thrones. Better Call Saul, eh. Let me get my stupid thing get fixed here. Come on, down. There we go. Better Call Saul, yeah, I might check that out. Or Breaking Bad. I never watched a single Breaking Bad episode. I went right to the last episode and watched it, and I was like, eh. Yeah. Favorite cartoon character, someone said. That's going to be a toss-up between Robotech or Voltron, maybe? That's some old school Japanime nerd stuff. Patrick Moore says, would you ever collab with Jason Crabb or anyone outside your genre? Jason Crabb, the Crabb Family? That's like Southern Gospel. No, man. I have hung out with them, though. I went to Morocco with the Crabb Family. They're cool people. I don't think that song would work, that's for sure. Steven says, is there a way to get a signed copy of your book? Anyone that you purchase off my website is signed. So that's kj52book.com. Yeah. Justin Joss, my man Justin, up there in the Panhandle. KJ Board's favorite memory. My favorite memory of the KJ Board. Probably when the KJ Board just went absolutely haywire and it just got taken over by a bunch of people that didn't even like my music and they were just on there being obnoxious. That's my favorite memory because it showed me that doesn't matter how big you are, there's always people that think you're stupid. But yeah, that's my man KJ Board. That's a long time ago. He's talking about my old message board on my old website from like a bazillion years ago. For those that are just jumping in, I'm doing a live podcast, strictly Q&A version, and probably going to wrap this up in the next couple minutes. But if you got questions, go ahead and drop it in here. I'll give you a little shout out. And yeah, Isabel says, during this time in quarantine, how do you stay positive? For us, it's hard having my little one in school missing her friends. I've found that routine has been very helpful for me to stay positive. I've also found that exercise has been huge for me. So like my routine is like get up early, pray, talk to God, run, upper body, shower, out the door, like keeping like routine and getting up. Something about getting up early makes me go to bed at like a decent hour instead of tossing and turning. That has been like tremendously helpful in like keeping my head space. I've noticed the days where I don't keep my routine is like the days where I'm more anxious and stuff like that. So, and sunlight. I know that sounds dumb, but like sunlight and diet, huge. You know what I mean? Super huge. And this is over here on Instagram. And Dwell says, why hasn't there been an old school Christian hip hop tour? Easy. There's an easy answer to that because you guys don't support it. I mean, it's that simple. There's not enough demand for it. There's not enough people that would actually spend money on it. And honestly, there's not, like, older school Christian hip hop doesn't have the hits like an old school 90s 80s rap tour would have. You know what I mean? I did a podcast on this too, by the way, KD5TPodcast.com. I do think some of the artists that are out now will probably be able to do an old school tour 10, 20 years from now, because their hits are bigger and they've sold more and their reach was bigger. But I think old school Christian rap from the 90s just didn't have the same acceptance level. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the sad reality of it. Let's keep it moving here. And when I said you guys don't support it, I'm being facetious. I know some of you guys would definitely support it. I'm just saying, by and large, Christian rap fans, regular fans, just they're not going to support it. Aaron Lee says, what was your inspiration for Starbucks takes all my money? It's pretty self-explanatory. I used to drink it at Starbucks a lot. I was at Starbucks way too much back in the day. This is off Facebook. Joel Peter Nichols says, I only ask since so many people are turning away from God, so should celebrities be afraid of the backlash and their careers for announcing they follow Christ and He's an important part of their life? I'm not really in Hollywood, though I have a lot of people out there that are. I don't know. I mean, you got to count the cost. You know what I'm saying? I know there's plenty of Christians in Hollywood that are doing, they find ways to maneuver and make it work. If there's backlash, it's going to be backlash. I mean, what do you want to say? Like, you might get backlash just working a job and you got saved and your friends are like, screw you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that would be any really different. It's just the parameters are bigger. You know what I mean? And Dwelly says, we are going to make it happen and prove you wrong. Maybe smaller venues, though. I'll tell you what. You make it happen and prove me wrong, I will be the first one to buy a ticket. Okay? I'm going to take about another 5 minutes of questions on here for this podcast. Olaha Frankfurt says, when and where was your first live rap performance and what was your experience like? My first performance was at a camp. When I was a senior in high school, and that's all I'm going to tell you. You have to go read my book to find out the rest. Actually, I'll go ahead and tell you. I was at a camp called Chrysalis, and I got up and kicked a verse a cappella, and then I told everybody to throw their hands in the air, and then the beat disappeared. So it was not very glamorous, that's for sure. You know what I mean? Andwell says, you will be on the bill. Okay, you need to stop. You need to stop teasing me, Andwelly, and make it happen, Captain. Because, this hair is just getting grayer and grayer every day, and pretty soon I'm just going to be in a walker with, the little tennis balls on the bottom, and I'll be like, you're going to have to wheel me out to the stage. Let's grab a question. Let's grab a question off of Facebook here. Eric Vargas says, sup, dude, loved your music. Thanks for everything. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Joel Rodriguez says, have you ever thought to collaborate with T-Bone or Grits? My question is, why don't you interview Funky on your podcast? I've done a song with Grits. Actually, I just did a podcast with Grits. T-Bone, I have asked T-Bone to do a song like 1,000 times, and he's turned me down every time. He keeps telling me he's retired. And why don't I interview Funky? That's not a bad idea. Probably would do it down the road, though. A little while down the road. Urban Monk says, this is off Instagram, what's your key to your longevity in the game? I don't know if I know what the key is. I could probably just say, listen to God and listen to people. You know what I mean? That's the two most important things you could do. Is my neighbor, James Hayes says, is my neighbor still moonwalking to your freestyles? She was just out yesterday walking backwards. That was hilarious. Jared Zubrowski says, what's your thoughts on NF? What's my thoughts on NF? I always find it interesting when people ask me what my thoughts are on other people that started in my genre but left, because it's kind of a loaded question. But I'll just say this about NF. So, two things. Well, one, he's a Michigan boy, and if you know anything about Michigan, it looks like an oven mitt. Okay, so I spent my summers up here, and he's from Gladwin, which is about 45 minutes south of where I spent my summers. And I remember doing a show with him, I feel like almost 10 years ago in Michigan. He got done, he like opened up at the festival, and then I went later and stuff like that. And I remember us just kind of sitting there and just hanging out. He was super young. I feel like he was like 18 maybe. And immediately I just understood, without like saying I understood him, I kind of understood him because I know what small town Michigan kids are like, because that's how I spent my summers, hanging out with small town Michigan kids. So like, especially that area where he's from. So I understood a lot of it, you know what I mean? And it was cool, like, I don't know, just, that was it. And then I saw his kind of ascent, and then our paths started crossing more. And so the more we got to talking, the more it was like, we realized that we had like, we're years apart, but I'm saying like, that Michigan connection was kind of like, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know where that is. He knows where this is. Yeah, you know what this is. Okay, cool. And then when I saw him, I remember talking to him where he looked at me. We were hanging out, and he goes, this is going to be my last Christian show. He's like, I'm not doing any more after this. And we hung out a lot that day. We actually went to Whole Foods together, which is weird because none of these Christian rappers ever want to go eat at Whole Foods. They want to go eat at like garbage spots. And we hung out a lot. We talked about running. We talked about eating healthy. He kind of was talking about, the Christian music industry and how like it wasn't really, conducive to what he was trying to do and things like that. And then, I played a show that he had played the year before, and he'd kind of like warned me about some of the stuff, and I was sending him a text like, thanks for the warning. Anyway, the point being is, I remember kind of telling him at that time, I was like, dude, I'm going to commit to praying for you for 30 days straight. I'm going to text you every day. I said, you okay if I do that? And he was like, yeah. And every day I just send him a text. I'd pray for him, and I'd say, this is what I feel like, God, I want to share with you. And then kind of after that, we just lost contact, like happens to a lot of people. And then, next thing you know, he's on mainstream radio, and all this is shooting through the roof. And so the really last time I really ever talked to him was like when his record dropped and it, like did all those, I think it debuted #1, and I just texted him and just said, hey man, congratulations. Music wise, I was kind of like, I'm just not into like angry raps, you know what I mean? That's just, I've never been into that stuff. And I'm not saying all of NF's music is like that, but I'm saying that type of content is just not what I'm into. But I'll never forget, about 2 years ago, I played Let Me Down for my youth group, and I built a whole message around it. And it really impacted those kids. And I was like, now I understand how this music works in the context of reaching people. But, again, I haven't really talked to him since then. It's been years. I hope and I pray he's doing well. The mainstream industry is a pain. It's not easy to navigate in spiritually. I hope he's got good people around him. I hope he's plugged in at church. So I got married, so good for him. I think that's great. Other than that, that's it. And I know this is the part where everyone sends me 10,000 things. You should do a song with him. It doesn't work like that, y'all. But anyway, that's it. There you go. Maria Patricia says, you're my favorite rock artist. All right. Let's move on to another question. Memes for Jesus said KJ walks so NF could run. I don't know about that. I did see a meme one time. It's like said I was his dad or something like that. I thought that was funny. Let's move on. I'm going to take 2 more questions off each platform. So I'm going to take 2 more off here and then 2 more off here. Let's take 2 more. 2 more off Instagram and 2 more off Facebook. I might have to scroll back. I need another one. Vincent Greens II says, can we get a story about the song you did with R. Swift, Flavor of Forever? Wow. Okay. So that's taking it back. So shout out to my man R. Swift. I met him a long time ago. He told me that he was a big Sons of Intellect fan, which is like the old Golden Child KJ era, or maybe he meant the 7th Avenue era. And so he came to me. He said he wanted me to do a song. He said, I want that old Sons of Intellect KJ. And I'm like, it's going to be kind of hard. Like, that was from like 10, 15 years ago. But I said, all right. And so I'll never forget this. He sent me a beat. I wrote to the beat. And it was like more kind of a Tribe Called Quest jazzy vibe. And then I sent him my vocals, and he changed the whole beat around. So, like, it was a totally different track. Like, I had kicked one verse to one vibe, and then he changed the total vibe. And so, like, what ended up he actually put out was different than what I had recorded to. Not that I was off beat or anything, but, you know, that's kind of just really the story. I remember he was, like, a little not salty, but he was like, yo, man, why'd you put my government name on there? But shout out to R. Sweezy. I heard he's down in Atlanta. I hope he's doing well. Flavor of Forever. Flavor of Forever. Let me get it. Ken Squires says, why did you retire from making music? I never retired from making music. I've said this as many stars are in the sky. I've said I did not retire from music. So I said I retired KJ52. You know, man? Y'all gotta pay attention. That's why I wrote a song called Pay Attention on my last album called Victory Lap, which you didn't pay attention to. That's why I wrote the song. There's nothing more ironic than writing a song called Pay Attention that people don't pay attention to. Anyway, let's keep it moving. I need another question off of Instagram. Michael Beach says, I would love a feature. Michael, you need to get on my Patreon. I'm doing a feature festival. I'm doing a feature thing right now. You can get on my song by going to patreon.com/KJ52 and checking out the I Believe track. Alright? That's also on my Instagram. I need another question off of Facebook. Patrick Moore says, what's your take on Kanye West getting saved? Who else would you like to see get saved? I don't think I have the power to do that. And you get saved, and you get saved, and you get saved. It's an odd question. I want everybody to get saved. I don't want to just selectively pick people to get saved because I like their music or their art. That's an odd question. But I did a whole podcast on my thoughts on Kanye West. You should go check it out. It's KJ52podcast.com. Because that's sort of a very nuanced question, but we did a really good deep dive into that on that episode. So, I need one more question off Instagram. Let's go. What you guys got? Young Ibo says, do you think Kanye's genuine? All right, so that is a good question because I too, like a lot of, I've seen them come and go, you know, with their sincerity. Celebrities get saved. But a friend of mine who is a promoter that I've done stuff with for a long time, shout out to my man Scott Dawson, brought him in back in January for Kanye's Jesus is King choir deal set up. I'm blanking out, I'm tired. And he had nothing but great things to say about him. So I trust him. I think he's a good judge of character. So if he says it, I'm pretty much on board. So there you go. Last question off of Facebook. Christina says, who would you want to do a song with? Michael says, anyone you want to do a song with. I kind of already answered that, so it's a common question. It's not your fault, but I'm going to get a different one. I'm going to get a different answer. A different question. Brock Tab, you ever got a response from M on Dear Slim? You need to read my book. You need to read my book. Need to read my book. You need to read my book, and you'll know the answer to the question. Yeah, it's a long answer, so go check out the book. What happened was I talk about it, or you can listen to it on Spotify. What happened was the mixtape. All right. Last question off of the Instagrams. Break it down, or I'll take one more off of Facebook. What What do we got here? For those that just tuning in, don't know why I'm going like this, it's because I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Big boy Nathan says, Nathan, you've asked me 7,000 questions. I love you, man, but you're hogging the questions. Okay, you're a question hog, and I mean that in the nicest way possible because you're passionate. But I do need to grab somebody else's question. You guys are tongue-tied. Nobody's got a question. All right, well, I guess I'll just exit stage left right here. Love you guys. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the first ever KJ52 Live. Okay, Brianna Lewis. Here she goes. Shout out to Brianna Lewis. And all right, here's my last two questions, and I'll wrap it up here. Brianna Lewis says, "Is Florida crazy?" Florida never stopped being crazy, Brianna. All right, you just left. We're crazy as ever. And over here, Godly Maid said, "Anyone you're mentoring?" It's been interesting trying to do mentorship in this setting, so I'll probably say no, not right now. But I am, serving as a pastor, so I guess that's all mentoring, right? But yeah. All right, you guys, I love y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an incredible Monday. I'm going to go put my kids to bed. All right, love y'all. God bless.